Hi, I'm back. I'm Whitney Wiley, and I am with Shifting into Action and the co-host of the Life Lemons and Lemon Drops podcast. It's a podcast where my host and I, Greer McVeigh, talk with we have a weekly show. We talk with each other, and then occasionally we have guests. And the special occasion when we are interviewing authors about the things that they've gone through. We like covering overcomers, people who have overcome things in life. And today we have the special privilege of talking with some of the authors of the new book. She is an overcomer. It is a book by Action Takers Publishing. Linda Sunshine West and Sally Green are the publishers for this. If you watch part one of this 4-part series or listen to part one, Sally was in part one. You will hear from Linda in part 4. And in between, I have the privilege of meeting some new authors. And so, first of all, who here is an author for the very first time? Raise your hand or let me know. We've got 3 of you. So we've got Stephanie Caldwell, Coach Caitlin Kresmer, Tanqueer Dyer, and Sheba. Sheba, it looks like you're the only one that's been a published author before. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. I believe that my specialty is children. So I've already published 2 children's books.
Okay. Awesome.
And in the process of doing another one for next year. But now I'm exploring women and just, adulthood. So it's exciting. It's
awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations to all 4 of you being a part of the Action Takers Publishing community. I have found to be extremely rewarding. It's been beneficial business-wise and made some really great connections, starting with Sally and Linda. So let's jump in and talk about you guys. So Stephanie, I'm just going to go in the order that I see you on my screen. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about you and your chapter in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I first am a woman of faith. I am attempting to be a fully devoted follower of Christ. I'm a wife and then a mom. And then by trade, I'm a high school science teacher. But my chapter, it's titled I'll Always Be Sick. It's a condensed version from my full-length book, in which each chapter title is actually a lie that I've believed. And so it just takes you through, especially before I knew Jesus and before I was walking with him, and kind of where that's shown up in my life. So lots of mental illness, lots of physical illness, and just that feeling of I'll always be sick, and kind of having things in life that kind of affirmed that, and really just showing that that's actually not it, and being healed of bipolar disorder, along with many other things. But that was the biggest turning point, because I had tried to commit suicide a few times, and so that was literally what saved my life, is being healed of that. Because the other things, although very draining and not great, that was the one thing that was going to take my life. So,
well, thank you for sharing. Coach Caitlin.
Yeah, so I am an entrepreneur. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I own 2 businesses. The first one is Bohemian Beach Boutique, which is an online e-commerce boutique that retails boho-inspired fashion and beachwear for women. And my mission is to prove that fashion can be blind to prejudice and summer was meant for everybody. And with part of my mission, I started my second business, which is a coach. I'm a body image and mindset coach specializing in self-worth and confidence. Though my businesses don't fully relate to my chapter, it's a huge part in who I am and the confidence that I've gained as a person and why I'm here today, even as an entrepreneur, having the strength to inspire other women. So my chapter is called A Bigamist and a Hovel, A Saving Grace, which I know sounds like a few very random things. But yeah, so the city I grew up in, I never liked it. I was always in a very negative space there, and I felt like bad things always happened to me. And I went through a situation where I was growing depressed and despondent and got suicidal myself because I felt like everyone in my life was growing and achieving great things. And here I was in this shit ass apartment that I did not like. I had a job I did not like, and I started dating someone I thought it was great. And it turned out he was a convicted bigamist and also married to the cousin of a good friend of mine. So that hurt. I spiraled because I felt like more bad things were happening and things weren't going to get better, which is how I wound up depressed, despondent, and having suicidal thoughts and tendencies. But then it wound up, this situation was my saving grace because it gave me the courage I finally needed to believe in myself enough and pick myself up enough to finally leave the city. And it's not because I was running away from the situation. The strength I got through my faith and finding my faith and holding on is what gave me the courage to believe that I could rise above the situation and build more for myself. So it led me to finally leave the city and become the beautiful woman that I am today, just free and loving and here to support and be there for other women. So the bad was my saving grace.
I love that. Thank you. And we're going to come back. We're going to circle back around and talk more about you guys. But Tanqueer, please introduce yourself.
Yes, first time author. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a wonderful, wonderful journey thus far. So I initially began the book some time ago, and it's actually in reference to being molested by my stepfather. And the name of my particular chapter is I Have a Voice. And it came from when I was molested the very last time. I was screaming, but nothing was coming out. I literally was laying in the bed, and I knew my mouth was open. I was screaming for my mom, and nothing came out. I told family knew about it, church members knew about it, and I was told I should put more clothes on. I was told to cover up the door. Just different methods to just kind of prevent from him being able to see me and touch me and come in my room, things like that. And what happened was that I began to suffer from depression, low self-worth, low self-esteem, suicidal ideation, just a number of damaged emotions. And I got to the point where it wasn't until I started going to school myself for marriage and family therapy that one of my teachers, who it may have been like the second day of class, she just walked up to me and she just was like, she said, I don't know a lot about you. She said, but you have a little girl right here on your shoulder. And I can remember like it was yesterday. She said, you have a little girl right here on your shoulder. She said, tell her she made it. Tell her she's safe and she's okay now. She said, you can trust again. And I literally broke down, and that was the beginning of me going back to wanting to write because I didn't want to hurt anyone. It was my brother's father. So I didn't want to hurt anyone, but God just said, people need to know your testimony. People need to know that you've overcome. And like she said, you're safe. I am now a life coach myself. I do a lot with the military because I was prior service myself. But I do work with a number of other people besides the military. But right now I'm a life coach, and I'm enjoying being an empty nester because I just put my daughter in college.
Well, congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheba, you are next.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much for just having me here, as well as being among such great women of God is really that's really what it is, because everything that we need and everything that we have is because of him. And so that really led me to this space. I was, I'm going to tell a secret, but I was like spying on Linda Sunshine for a while. And I was so intimidated. I'm not even that type of person, but I was like, whoo, she's a heavy hitter, you know. I mean, she got it, you know. So I for one time I did, you know, speak with her because I was, you know, stepping into this author role, and I'm like, let me just, you know, throw a little something out there. Let's see, you know, where it goes. And it was one conversation before the pandemic. Then, of course, you know, the pandemic hit, and that was that. And then for some reason, we found our way back to this conversation because she kept just coming to my spirit, and I'm thinking, Sheba, just talk to, you know, just have a conversation. Like, you know, what's the worst she can do? Bite you, you know? So anyway, so we, you know, had the conversation, and she presented this idea because Sheba actually is an acronym that God gave me. I mean, it's just a powerful testimony, and it stands for she's better after it all. And so I realized, I mean, it's like a cousin to she's an overcomer. Yeah. So I figured I should definitely, you know, be here. I didn't know what it would look like, what it would sound like. But one of the things that when I was stalking Linda, I realized that one of her hugest mantras for her life is to do it because you're afraid. And I ran with that wisdom that she gave. And so I decided to write. It was actually something I started in another anthology, but someone, you know, things happened, so it just shifted. And so I was like, wait, I actually have something, so I can, you know, add to what was already written. So it came naturally. And it was after my divorce. You know, a lot of people have many different fears in life. And the funny thing is that my fear was that my family would be broken, right? I mean, you know, there's many, as they call, especially in the body of Christ, there's generational curses and, you know, divorce, promiscuity, having children out of wedlock, you know, some of the things that's in our bloodline or our families. And I just didn't want to have that testimony. You know, I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to follow the way of God. And I thought that I had all my T's crossed and my I's dotted. I thought I did at least, you know, but what I realized in the process is that everyone has the ability to make a choice. That was the hugest revelation. And it's okay if a person doesn't choose you. I had to come to that. I mean, talk about the fear of rejection, you know, woo! I was like, I just don't want to, you know, and it's not that it wasn't even the flip side of being a people pleaser either, but it was just this, I don't want to be rejected. And who wants to be rejected by their husband? You spend this time together, you know, you have the same vision, you want to build, and it's just like a light switch goes off. I don't choose you anymore. You know, how do you live with that? So this is really what my chapter is about. And I just decided to just stick to my authenticity. And I titled it as She's Better After It All, because it was when God spoke to me, he told me it would be threefold. So it would be a business, it would be a brand, and it would be a ministry. And that's really where I hone in. And so I do consider myself a women's empowerment coach. By trade, I'm an early childhood educator. And so everything about children is just my desire. I do have 3 children. The chapter kind of goes into that gap that was, you know, that was created between my son and myself because of the divorce. And, you know, just the many different things that divorce is death. I mean, it is death, it's death, you know, and so that was a realization that I had to accept. But the biggest realization is that people have a right to choose me, and they have a right not to choose me.
True.
But either way, I have to be okay with that. And so that's where I come to this place of, you know what, in spite of anything that I've ever been through, whether it be past, present, or future, I'm still going to be better after it all. So that was what my chapter was about. So like I said, I'm honored. I'm just so grateful to be here. And thank you so much.
It is my pleasure and honor to have you all and to host this. So before we go any further, I want to make sure that we give the audience an opportunity to purchase the book. So I am going to share this. This is the book. She is an overcomer. It is 31 stories of real women, real stories, inspiring you to overcome your challenges. We all have challenges, right? No one escapes this life without challenges. One of the questions that comes up is, how are you going to move through your challenges? If you're going to move through your challenges. And a point that Sheba made is that it's a choice, right? It is a choice to move through. It is a choice on how we move through.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing that you have in common in this book is that you're all women of faith. Right. And I am a woman of faith. I was saying to Sally in the part 1, I don't know how this book got past me. I do not know how I was not a part of this book, other than it obviously was an opportunity for them to work with new people. And I'll have another time, another place and another time, which connects with something that Sheba said, about things as they're supposed to be, right? And sort of the timing of things. When things are supposed to happen, they will happen. Our challenge is that we want things when we want them. We want them the way we want them. And that's not always what God has for us, right? His ways are not our ways. And we have to remember that. I want to go back to something that you said, Stephanie, and that you're working on your own project, right? You're working on your own book project, and the chapters in the book are all titled after lies that you've told yourself. And you're not the only one who tells themselves lies, right? We're all lying to ourselves. There's this voice in our head that is filled with lies and trying to keep us from our best selves, right? Trying to keep us from a relationship with God by making us think that if God loved us, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Right.
And he has not promised that we get through this without trials, that we get through it without temptation, that we get through it without tragedy. But what we do get from it is, and what all of you have brought, is your testimony, right? And so tell us, just in the particular story that you're telling here about you'll always be sick, right?
Right.
Was there a moment where you realized that that lie was in fact a lie?
Yes. So for 26 years, I actually did not believe in God or Jesus. Was very agnostic. And actually to the point of I'd actually gone to atheism. So there was nothing. For a little while there was something, and then there was just nothing. And I am a science teacher, so I do have quite a bit of a science background, and so it was all founded in science. There was a moment after my second suicide attempt that someone in an Al-Anon meeting, because I have a lot of addiction in my family, and so I knew someone that had been spiritually healed of testicular cancer, and someone he knew had the spiritual gift of healing, and he was like, would you please just be willing to meet with him? And even though with all the science and the background, I was an open-minded person, and I knew at that moment that I was going to try to kill myself again, that my life was just awful and there was literally nothing left to live for, that lie that even my kids would be better off without me. So it wasn't even enough that they were here, but I was making their life horrible. And when I met with him, who is a thoracic surgeon by trade, and he's telling me all these things about the Bible that's tying this science and biblical knowledge together. We were actually at McDonald's so that my kids could play, and they could play in the play place, and we were meeting at the table pre-COVID. And so I remember in that moment just feeling this small, just a drop of hope, that there could be this hope that maybe I will not always be sick, because he was sitting here telling me all these testimonies, which the Bible talks about sharing our testimonies. And we've said that a couple of times already. And it's just so powerful, because that's really what did it for me, was not necessarily him and this human that was telling me I could be spiritually healed, but these other testimonies of these people that he had led through this spiritual healing. So it was then that it really was the small flame that ignited the whole fire.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to let that be the theme that carries us through the rest of our time together, ladies. So, Coach, I know this isn't your story, right, about the lies, but we all have them. And so part of our overcoming whatever it is we're going through is moving through that. Were there lies that you were telling yourself as part of what was going on with you? And was there a moment where you realized that that was keeping you stuck or not allowing you to live fully and abundantly the life that God has for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even before the situation in my book, I'm that girl who had that negative inner voice for years. No value, no self-worth. I used to weigh over 250 pounds, so I struggled with my appearance and society and not being able to validate or appreciate or accept myself because I didn't fit in with that stereotypic norm that the media and society puts out there. So I lied to myself for years with that I wasn't worthy of greatness. I wasn't valuable. And I think that's what led to me being so depressed and found this situation so hard because it was another situation where I felt like life and everything was against me. And it's because I wasn't worth more that I've now attracted this man into my life who was a liar, a user, a manipulator. And it's one more bad relationship in a string of bad relationships that I'd had. And so, yeah, it was just and for a bit, I believed like I did this to myself and I caused this and maybe I do deserve this. And so that was a huge lie. And that's what made me spiral. And that's what made me sit in the bathtub, running my fingers along my wrist, wondering how I could end this because I don't want to live a life where I'm not worthy and I'm not worthy. But then that's when my faith came in. And that's when I actually really came and opened up to faith because I grew up in the Catholic Church. As a teenager, I walked away from it all. You go through those years where you just question it all. You learn about science in school, like Stephanie teaches. And you're just like, I believe in science and fact. And so I walked away from it. But it was really this situation that brought me back to faith. And I was in the tub and I just heard this voice that just, you are valuable, you're worth more than this. And it is what propelled me to make the positive choice to know that I need to start believing in myself, that I am worth more than this man, and that I don't need this situation in my life. So yeah, a lot of lies for a lot of years. And eventually it became, I replaced it with truths.
I love that. And that's the piece that sets us free, right? The truth shall set us free.
Yeah, it's the choice to get rid of that negative inner voice and just start seeing things in the positive light and listen to him. And that's what I had to learn, right?
Yes.
I didn't know how to listen or hear the signs and the symbols, but now that I get it, so much stronger and so much more in control of what I choose to believe. It's beautiful.
And it starts there with the choice. So with that, I want to come back to you, Sheba, asking you the same question. What was the lie that you were believing that was keeping you stuck? And if you remember the moment, and I hate to cut you guys off, but we've got 4 sessions here today. So I'm just going to ask you to keep it short. But what was that moment that you realized that it was a lie and that there was something better for you on the other side?
It's I think God, not I think I know rather, God has a very interesting way. We have this beautiful relationship, and He speaks to me in very unique ways. And we hear this saying about the grass being greener on the other side. And so, God always brings me to this place of challenging social norms and, these cliches. And He said, well, who's to dictate that the grass isn't greener on the other side? There's plenty of women who do experience greener grass.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I'm pretty sure, Caitlin, we all can say, oh, I've experienced the greener grass, and if you haven't, I pray that you will find that greener grass. So the lie, honestly, that my pastor helped me come to this truth is that you're not in control over anything and anyone but yourself.
Yes.
I'm thinking, I mean, if I fit this mold, or if I do this, or if I don't do this, if I say this, if I don't say this, then, maybe there might be a different outcome, right? But people have a right, literally, even God gives us a choice. So
Yes.
who am I to even go against this, this, what's the word, whatever the word is, this standard, if I can say, that God even placed. So I had to, to say, what would Jesus do? I had to do what Jesus would do. He gave you a choice, so I had to give him a choice. And he didn't choose me, and so I just had to come, oh my goodness, I had to come to that realization. It was such a hard thing for me to do, to say, you have to relinquish your control, Sheba.
Yes.
You have to, there's nothing else that you can do. So to answer it quickly, was the idea of this controlling, whether it's directly or indirectly. We're control freaks. We want to control everything
Yes.
and everyone. So
Yes, we do.
That realization was the lie. And, through counseling, through just reflection with God, through crying, through, if these walls could talk, I'm telling you, but so that was the lie, that I had to come to this place of truth so that I can experience liberty and freedom.
Well, I am happy to hear that you did that. And again, you just keep reiterating the importance of choice, right? And personal responsibility. We cannot control other people. We can only control ourselves and our reactions. Tanqueer, what was the lie that you were holding on to? And what was the truth that has allowed you to break through for your overcoming moments?
So a lot that you all are saying, and all of these keywords, controlling. So let me say, the lie that the devil had me believing was that I didn't have a testimony. That kept me from sharing my testimony, because I felt like, well, there was no penetration, so there wasn't really much, that happened. And then the fact that it felt like it was my fault, because they were like, put on more clothes. People from the church would say, put on more clothes, cover up, do this, do that, as if to some degree I should have had more control over the situation. So I felt like I didn't have a testimony. But when my teacher said that you can trust again, when she said that, it really was a reminder for me from God to say, you don't trust me. Your trust has to start back in me. And that became like, that's just when people say, if you ever ask, what's my favorite scripture? I don't care what's going on in my life. It can be good. It can be bad. It can be up. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding. So I don't care what's going on. I have to realize that when y'all start talking about control, because of me feeling like I didn't have control after being molested, I became a control freak. Trying to control everything that happened in my life. And to the point God had to say, you really not in control. You literally got to trust me. Like, I'm literally in control, even though you feel like you're controlling everything, you're really not. And I had to accept the fact that it's time for me to give up control and really trust God in everything that's going on. And I began to say, okay, God, I see this. And there's so many aspects that women don't understand and people don't understand. When you're molested, it takes so much of your power away. And God had to begin to show me that he didn't take anything away from you that I didn't even allow. And everything that happened was for the good.
Yes.
And he just began to show me everything that I had been through. And it began to be a testimony in different aspects, not trusting. And to be able to trust God with everything, even when things are not going well, like, I literally had to trust God, because it was even in my marriage. I didn't even realize how things were affecting me, because you suppress so much when you go through things. My daughter would ask me questions about my childhood that I couldn't even answer. I didn't even remember what my childhood was like, because I had suppressed so much of it, because so much happened during that time. And so it really was God just saying to me, you do have a testimony. For your first testimony is that you have to trust me. You literally have to trust me with everything and know that it's going to work out for your good. And that's
Amen,
really where I
amen.
got to. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Yo, you better
You know
preach.
what, ladies? I hate that we have to cut this short. But what you guys have just outlined is that you give other people hope, right? By sharing your stories, you are giving other people hope, and by just sharing just a little bit, you are whetting the appetite of the readers.
Yep.
That whatever it is they're going through, it's like I'm going to find something in these 31 stories. I'm going to find a story, 10 stories, 31 stories that I resonate with, that is going to help me to move through what I'm going through. And then I'm going to share my testimony so that someone else can benefit from my story. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for sharing your stories. Again, the book is She is an Overcomer. And I want to put this here. You can get it at actiontakerspublishing.com/overcomer. Purchase the book today. There are gifts. The authors have contributed gifts. There are over $3,000 worth of gifts. If you purchase the book. Again, thank you all for being here, and the best to you as you guys continue working on the launch today. I know you'll be best-selling authors, international best-selling authors, and all of that. So keep up the good work, and I'm sure I will see you in the Action Taker Publishing community in the future. So take care.
Thanks so much for
Thank you.
having us.
Thank
It's
you
been a
so much.
pleasure.
Be well, blessed.
And for the rest of you, I will be right back with the next group of authors in just a minute.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Bye.